think that the seed of God, and you mentioned it earlier about being planted in your life at an early age, your mom speaking the word of God in your life, and how every time someone mentions your name, a Maestro, it reminds you of your purpose. It reminds you of your significance. I mean, it speaks those things that are not as though they are.
Yeah,
and
no,
so when
before I even knew any
well,
of
you
this,
even
thing,
knew,
yeah,
you
I
know.
didn't know any of this. I was
Right.
like, what is a Maestro? What is, what is that? But she had to sing what she wanted because she was, unable to get music lessons that she wanted. She always wanted her kids to do that. So that's kind of, I guess, where it spawned from, the whole music thing and the Maestro. But I guess, man, mothers are incredible. They see things in you that you never see until maybe years later. And father's the same way. But in this situation, we're talking about my mother. She just saw something in me that he's like, man, this young man has the gift for music. He has it. You find him typical banging on pots. Always humming, always stuff I used to get in trouble for. But she was lenient a little bit on me, because she understood. God blessed me with this gift, and if he stays with it, he's going to bring a message to the world, or he's going to fulfill his purpose. And so I thank her for that, and as well as my father. He's been a big help, in my life as far as he's one of the wisest men I ever known. And I call him about anything, So.
Wow, that's good.
You might want to clap to this. You might want to step to this. You might want to live by this. Yes, it is, y'all. Oh, today. You might want to clap to this. Your day. You might want to step.
Welcome to Just Men, a life-changing program that resonates hope as well as encouragement. The program that gives you information and inspiration for the glory of God. I'm your host, Jeff Tate, and thank you for joining Just Men. On today's program, we have a very special guest. This is his first time being on Just Men. Please welcome my man, Maestro, as we call, which is Melvin Lightford. Welcome to Just Men.
What's going on, man?
Oh, man, it's a pleasure for you to be on our program. I know we got a lot to talk about, and before we start diving into the depths of your life and what gives you passion and desire, share us a little bit about who is Maestro Melvin Lightford.
Maestro Melvin Lightford is just a regular guy who grew up here in Nashville, Tennessee, doing music things now. Had my education from Nashville School of the Arts, went to high school in Nashville School of the Arts, then later went to Belmont University, graduated there. And now this is what I do full time, is just working with different artists, doing production stuff, getting to travel, which I like that kind of thing. So it's a fun, I'm in a good situation. It was an uphill battle trying to get to this point, but I'm happy and excited about what's going to happen for me in the future.
Yeah, I know that you and I behind the scene were talking about how'd you come into the name of Maestro. I was struggling just announcing it, Maestro, because most people don't even know you as Melvin Lightford. But share a little bit about that coming into your name and what does that mean, and also share a little bit about your background in terms of your upbringing that cultivate you into that name.
Definitely. I wish I could take credit for coming up with a cool nickname like Maestro, but actually, when I was young, my mother actually, when she used to wake me up, she'd say, Maestro, wake up, Maestro, and all this kind of things. And to me, you're a little kid, you're just like, man, does she know how to say my name right or something like that? I was like, yeah, my name's Melvin, but she kept calling me Maestro. But as I got to high school, I started thinking, I was like, man, that's a pretty cool nickname. So I kind of adopted that, just trying to, even I was writing it on my school papers, like Maestro Lightford on my college papers, and that's kind of how I became known as Maestro. But also I adopted while I was in college, just trying to earn the name. Maestro is a prestigious name. It means teacher, performer, a highly noted performer, or conductor. And so those are the things that I've kind of been doing in my life now in the music field. So every time I hear the word or the name Maestro, when somebody's calling me, it's always a cue or a flag that goes in my head saying that, okay, you need to be constantly trying to earn that name. It's just not a name that you can just, anybody should be given. And I'm thankful that my mom planted that seed in me years ago as a young child to bring us to this day right now. So I thank her for that.
Yeah, let's talk about the cultivation process, because you make a very profound statement. I know off the set you talked about you're working into that name, living up to that name and how the significance of that name. But before you even get to the name, there's also this cultivation and nurturing process. Start talking a little bit about your upbringing and who were significant people in your life and help cultivate the gift that you talk about now and share with others.
Well, I would definitely have to say my parents were a big inspiration to me. My father, neither one of them play instruments, I would say per se, professionally. My father kind of dabbles at the piano or the saxophone. But, growing up, I heard that a lot. My dad playing the piano, he turned me on to records, all like that. At that time, it was just a lot of old school R&B type things, and my mom did kind of the same thing, and my dad would bring also some jazz records. But they were the first initial inspirations for this music thing that I do now. Later on, definitely I went to the School of the Arts, so I'm among a lot of other kids who play other instruments, saxophone, tuba, trombone, piano as myself. And then, they turn you on to other different types of music, the rock, the punk, country, jazz, classical, all this kind of stuff, which was really cool for me because I didn't hear that younger. I was all in the old school R&B kind of stuff, the P-Funk and James Brown kind of things. Then you kind of meet, classical composers, Beethoven, Chopin, even rock groups like Tool, and just various other things, the other sounds out there that's kind of influenced my playing, how I communicate music to the world. And so it was a great thing going to the school, and then even building on that, going to Belmont, which is a bigger music school. It was just, I guess, what I experienced at National School of the Arts, just on 10. So, yeah, that's kind of how my music career kind of came up, just from a small thing of my parents really exposing me, I would say, to the music, the world of music, then kind of getting the education through school, and then just even a better education or higher education in college. So that's what for me, what's cultivated my musical journey so far.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the education part. I know that's very significant to you. You burn with passion when you start talking about education. So share a little bit in terms of that behind the scene in your education and how that played a very pivotal role in your development.
Okay. Well, like I said, I went to Belmont University. I graduated from Belmont University with a music education degree. So, like you said, yeah, education is really important to me. Education is how you succeed in life, through anything that you do. It doesn't necessarily have to be music, TV shows. You understand that as long as you have the education, you can succeed at anything in life that you want to do. And that not at all doesn't mean always going through the school curriculum and all that kind of stuff. There are a whole bunch of ways to get to the top, but the safest way is you kind of go through the school thing. You go to elementary, middle school, high school, and later in college, and then you go get your doctorate and all that kind of stuff. So for me, just education is really, 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 really important because that's the only way that you're going to succeed in life is getting education, knowing exactly what you need to do and what you need to know to better yourself. For me, it's music. So me understanding what chords are, scales are, that helps me communicate to other musicians, like when they say the music is the universal language. That helps me through the education that I've gotten. I can communicate to anybody, whether they're from the U.S., France, Australia, anyway, because it's just a universal language. But I can only do that because they come back from me understanding. Grabbing that education piece. So that is very important to me. And through my career, I've tried to do certain things to help promote that through my own life, whether it's through teaching. While I was actually in college, I would have, certain students, they would come, my piano students would come. They were really, really young, which was kind of a no-no for young teachers. Because, when you're dealing with, they were four, 5, and 6. And it's just interesting when you have to teach that young of an age because, they don't have the mind as we do, because we've been in the world so long. So they approach the world differently. But it was an enjoyable experience. I learned so much about that. And then later, I started teaching at a private school, F.H. Jenkins Elementary School, which is actually my alma mater, and teaching a band program, which is for fourth grade through the bands for 4th through 8th grade. And so just trying to push on them that the importance of all this and how it relates to not just, like, I had this thing what I would tell the parents is, it's not just I'm not going to teach them how to be the greatest piano player ever to live, because I'm not that, but I'm going to teach them necessary skills, like multitasking. They have to do their homework, they have to practice. It's just something that you have to do. But that's something they learn through the education process. But if you never kind of go through that, if you just kind of do your own thing, if you kind of, that works for some people. A lot of people out there are self-taught, and they're incredible players out there. But for the the mere mortals of it, like us, we have to go through that education piece, which is, it'll set you apart. When there's so many situations that I've walked in, and because I've had that education, I'm not necessarily get put on a pedestal, but people can really understand and understand what I'm trying to communicate to them. It just makes it simple, simpler. That's not even a word. It's simple,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know that part of your involvement in the community, and you're doing a lot of work in terms of young people, but part of that also birthed LifeWorks Music.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a bit about how, what was the genesis of Life?
I think the biggest vision for the company is just our motto is making dreams a reality. And so, musical dreams a reality. And so it's like any dream, any musical dream that a person may have is like, I want an album, or I want a jingle, or I want somebody to play for my birthday party. Making that a reality. And I just want us to, at LightWorks Music, to become that. People know us as that. Whatever musical dreams that we may have, we can go to this company, and it'll be provided in the highest form with excellence. The highest form of excellence. And that's the kind of the biggest piece, and kind of to get more, to really, what's the word I'm looking for? To explain that a little bit more. As far as like music, definitely, you always want to say, we want to produce a record that sells millions and all that kind of stuff. But I really want to do that stuff because the platform it gives you. If I'm known as a multi-Grammy award-winning producer, and that puts me in front of a lot more people than me now. Just somebody who just a few people know, and then that gives me an opportunity to spread a message that of encouragement to people and exposing others, like mainly kids, that there are so many opportunities out here for you to do the right thing. Like I mentioned earlier, there's so many things that they're exposed to. If I tell my story, like, you get exposed to these certain types of things, but you have another option out. Take this, or if you have a dream, no matter what's in your way, you can do it. Through the power of through God, of course. That's one you have to do. You have to have that relationship with the Father and say, like, hey, Lord, this is something that you put on my heart, and so I want to be able to fulfill my purpose, and I need the tools so that I'm gonna prepare for it, Lord, and we're presented with the opportunity and we'll be successful at it. So I think that for the biggest thing with the company is just, yes, we want to grow musically. We're working with bigger artists, be more notable in the, I would say, the world, just because I've been able to travel outside the U.S. and work with other artists outside of the U.S. And so that would be the biggest thing that I want LightWorks Music to be, is just somewhere you can go to make your musical dreams a reality. And then, the other stuff, Maestro the man, falls after that with, the things that I want to expose to other kids, that they have other options. You can do this, pray, and pray, and then you get through anything.
Wow.